Chris Nyland, a former volunteer, then subcontractor with Touched by Angels, describes his personal experiences with the organization.
I started working for Touched by Angels, actually started volunteering for Touched by Angels 2 weeks after their conception of the business. We would go around approaching businesses, asking them to make donations to specific families. We would represent one family each month. We would raise money, whether it be through donations, monetary, or we would get gift certificates given to us. At the end of the month, we'd have a benefit for the family. Those halls were donated, and any entertainment that came in for the day was donated. The food was donated, and then they would hold a raffle and they would hold an auction for items that they were given to them by local business owners, and the money was going to the family. At that time, I thought all the money was going to the family. More businesses got involved, and of course, more money kept coming in. I just saw little discrepancies, but at the time I was just volunteering. I thought it was a good cause. And, you know, these families, I thought, at the time it looked as though we were really helping the families. Every day, my job was to bring in as much money as I could, and that 80% of this money was going to go to the family. And then I started to figure out that, in fact, 80% wasn't going to the family. It was mentioned in an office meeting that only 80% of the one day at the end of the month when they held the benefit went to the family. I was bringing in between $600 and $700, sometimes $800 a day, 7 days a week. And what my job was to bring that money in. I would count it. I would then bring it into Gina Clark's garage. I would meet with all the other vendors. At the time, they had 4 tables going that were bringing in probably less than that, 350, 400, the other tables. Sometimes they did have a good day. They'd bring in 500 or 600. Chris Clark came out on a Friday evening one night and told me that they didn't want me to count the money anymore. Because what I would do is I would count the money and then I would get my percentage. That's how I was paid. And he came out and he said, we don't want you to count the money anymore. And I found that a little odd. On several occasions, I counted the money. And Chris Clark came out with a different figure. I was sent out in the morning with a table. I picked the table up, matter of fact, at Gina's house. I was sent out in the everyday normal fashion that I did this for the past 8 months, and set the table up at a Shaw's, and next thing I knew, Chris Clark pulled up on his motorcycle, called me away from the table. He had another woman, or a young girl, Heidi Smith, and said, she's going to be filling your table, and can you come over and talk to me for a minute? And he accused me of stealing from the bucket. Told him, I said, go into the supermarket, because where my table was set up, there was a security camera right above my head all day. And I said, I never took any money from you. And at that time I was fired.
Former Executive Office Manager Heidi Smith describes what happened during a trip to Boston to solicit donations for Touched by Angels.
We would just walk up to people on the street, and first we started saying we were helping a child with leukemia. And then when everyone asked where the child was from, we would say Cape Cod. Nobody would donate. So Gina said to us, look, we're helping Children's Hospital. I have a meeting with Children's Hospital. I need you guys to say that we're helping numerous families from Children's Hospital. And once we started saying we're helping numerous families from Children's Hospital, people were just donating like crazy. We were getting 10s, 20s, 100s. We were going all over Boston that day.
Boston Children's Hospital has no record of Touched by Angels as an authorized fundraiser. A Florida vacation package was donated. Heidi explains how this trip was raffled.
There was a Florida trip that was donated. It was supposed to be a timeshare Florida trip. They raffled it off. I mean, every time they were selling tickets, they were selling tickets for that Florida trip. And then I kept being told that there was going to be, a drawing for it and a drawing for it. I never really knew an exact date of when the drawing was. Gina just kept telling me it'll be drawn this month at this benefit, next month at that benefit. She just said we hadn't sold enough tickets and that she just kept posting it off for another month. They finally pulled the ticket, the winning ticket, in December of 2008. When Gina wanted to pull the ticket, we gave Gina the big bucket of tickets, and I was standing in the back, so I just saw her, hold her name up. And the winner of that was Dino's wife, Dino from Dino's Sports Bar. Dino is a sponsor. It was like a punch bowl, glass punch bowl. And honestly, I don't even believe it had all the tickets in there because we still had tickets at the office. I say hundreds, maybe hundreds of thousands of tickets were sold. There were so many tickets. We had these huge Ziploc bags full of tickets, and every week we would enter them in to the computer. I mean, I know of probably 2,500 names that were entered into the computer, but they weren't all entered into the same database, and they weren't all entered, all the tickets weren't all entered in. There was at least 20 Ziploc bags in the office full of the raffle tickets. There's also just tickets lying around in Gina's garage or Gina's house. I mean, there's tickets everywhere. Some of the tickets that were in the office were loaded in and taken into the drawing. Other tickets were not, simply because they weren't entered into the computer or because they were just sold at a table that day, so Gina didn't put them into the bags. Other tickets that were still at Gina's house, Gina or Chris never brought them to Dino's. There's people out there in the public that have purchased many tickets, and their tickets were not into the drawings. Their tickets were simply just left behind, so they never had the opportunity to win the Florida trip or any other prizes that were being given away.
She goes on to describe how a 2009 investigation by the Massachusetts Attorney General was handled.
Gina found out of a form that was sent to her by a previous employee, and then she also found out because there was a form sent to her saying that there's an investigation going on just about fair labor laws, and they want to make sure everybody's being, tracked as an independent contractor, not an employee. So I received a questionnaire in the mail, and Gina wanted me to bring it into work, and she told everyone to bring the questionnaire into work. So we did. We had no idea what was going on, why we had to fill this out, and Gina had said, we're going to have a meeting and discuss how we're going to fill this out. The Attorney General's office found out about this meeting, called her up and said, no, you can't have this meeting. So then she says to me, I cannot specifically tell you how to fill this out, but all I'm going to say is, this is how you fill it out. Do you understand? And I said, yes. So then she said to me, now this is how you have to say it to everybody else. Tell them you cannot tell them how to fill it out, but this is how you fill it out. And I said, okay. And I said, why is this? And she goes, if you want to keep your job, this is how you fill it out. The questionnaire said, are you an employee of this organization? And you had to write, no, I'm an independent contractor of Touched by Angels. How many hours a week do you work? And you had to say, you work various amounts of hours. How are you paid? Even though I was paid salary or weekly, she had me write off commission, that I get a little bit of a standard rate and then I get commission. And then she found out that independent contractors could not get a standard rate, so I was only put commission.